Good evening and a very warm welcome to your English news package with radio and television Tonga for the hour. Making headlines, His Serene Highness Prince Kalaniʻi Fotofili will be the guest of honor at the official commissioning of the new vessel of the Toniwas on Thursday next week. Ministry of Infrastructure is working to provide 3 lanes to roads to avoid the traffic congestion. And crimes such as breaching Traffic Act, burglary and theft are on the rise in Tonga. Now with the news in details. The Noble's representative of the Toniwas, His Serene Highness Prince Kalaniʻi Fotofili, will be the guest of honor at the official commissioning of the Toni vessel or the new vessel of the Toniwas on Thursday next week. Vaifanatu Paula with the details.
Yesterday, the people of the Nuku'alofa in Taulanga Pasvulangi presented a traditional presentation to His Serene Highness Prince Kalaniʻi, led by the people's representative of the Toniwas, Vatauhui to his residence at Motu'alofa. The talking chief for His Serene Highness Prince Kalaniʻi Fotofili, Makalangahiva, welcomed the people of the Toniwas and the traditional presentation they presented. Speaking to radio and television Tonga News, Makalangahiva says the people of the Toniwas are very delighted for the approval from His Serene Highness Prince Kalaniʻi to be the guest of honor at the ceremony. The ceremony of the official commission of the new vessel will be held on Thursday next week at Tivuna Wharf. The vessel is 70 meters long and 10.8 meters wide and is capable of carrying 650 tons of cargo and more than 200 passengers. The vessel arrived in Tonga last Friday after traveling from Japan for 14 days. Vaifanatu Paula for Radio and Television Tonga News.
Transportation on the road will allow faster transportation for drivers due to the many vehicles in the country. As such, the Infrastructure Ministry is providing or working to provide 3 lanes to roads that are yet to have 3 lanes to avoid traffic congestion during peak hours. The Minister of Infrastructure, Honourable 17 Ua, says this is part of government's efforts in collaboration with Asian Development Bank in extending the 3-lane project from Tufumahina to the intersection at Tofoa. Due to the many vehicles, there is a need to readjust the roads to cater for those travelling every day to Nuku'alofa and Beg. The idea to extend from 2 lanes to 3 is part of the first phase of the project implemented by Asian Development Bank. This same initiative applied to the road from the airport to Nuku'alofa to prepare for a time like this when traffic would be too much to handle. With the extension of the 3-lane road project, the minister says will start from the University of the South Pacific campus at Ha'ateho all the way to the 4-way intersection at Quincealote College. It is expected that only 2 lanes will be used in the morning hours from the Taufa'aha Road to the intersection at Quincealote Memorial Hall, and in the evening hours only 2 lanes will be used starting from Nuku'alofa. There are some roads that have the 3 lanes already, including the Waha'akolo Road, coming in from Tofoa to the intersection at the Longolongo Police Station. In between these roads will only be a 2-lane way. The Tofoa intersection can have 3 lanes or even 4, so these are the places we'll be working on to have 3 lanes road in place. The hope is to be able to address the issue of traffic congestion during peak hours. The Health Minister has highlighted that the government prioritizes people's needs, especially for sending someone overseas for emergency medical treatment. This was part of his address during deliberations of the Whole House Committee on the Ministry of Health's vote. Vaifanatu Paula again with more on their story.
The concern is because there are many false informations on social media saying that the government is not tending to the people's need, especially those who want to be sent overseas for immediate medical treatment. For the section on medical treatment, about 5 million pa'anga has been allocated for that, and that money is for the public. We have privileges as MPs, and those of us in the cabinet but we also care for our people. What I want to point out is that we also care for those who are not civil servants. There's an opportunity for them to be sent overseas for medical treatment, and this 5 million pa'anga is used for them. The health minister adds a CT scanner has now been installed at the Viola Hospital. Meanwhile, one of the important projects of the ministry for the new financial year is the renovation to the Prince Ngū Hospital at Vava'o. The Prince Ngū Hospital was built in 1950 and was renovated in 1981 by the Government of Australia, and another renovations needs to be done for safety reasons. During the deliberations, Ewa 11 People's representative Dr. Daniela Fusmalo, he requested for the hospital at Ewa to be relocated to a much safer place, as its current location is too noisy for the patients due to the many vehicles passing by, also from the rugby players playing nearby. However, the health minister responded a survey must be conducted first to identify solid grounds for its renovation. A survey has been carried out to the Prince Ngū Hospital at Vava'o with funds by the World Bank. The hospital in Ewa, we also need a survey for that. We need grounds before we start with any renovation. However, the budget for the health ministry for the new financial year is 78 million pa'anga. The deliberations were then adjourned from yesterday for Monday next week.
Businesses will have a more orderly record by using a cash register, and the staff of the Ministry of Revenue will keep track of these records from their office. That is the aim of the ministry in collaboration with the businesses in using this cash register for the next 3 months. For the next 3 months, under this agreement, the businesses will have to use the cash register provided by the ministry until they can afford to buy their own, or this cash register will then be given to businesses that do not have any. The Deputy CEO of the Ministry of Revenue and Customs, Daniela Sila, says this is the second phase of the project with business, with the first part to businesses that already had cash registers, where they installed a software where their staff can keep track of the records made every day. The reason of this move is to help our staff keep record of the transactions made every day and to avoid problems that occur in everyday buying, and so because of that, revenue money collected is too small, especially consumption tax. So that's what we noticed from businesses, especially stores that do not have any cash registers. The ministry hopes to have a workshop with businesses on the significance of using a cash register. The Health Ministry and the Ministry of Police are working hand in hand to tackle illicit drugs and its negative impacts in Tonga. Paula tells you more.
The Health Minister, Dr. Saipiukala, told MPs during deliberations in the Whole House Committee yesterday that as part of the operation in the fight against drugs, the ministry will send 2 staff abroad to a training program about illicit drugs. Honourable Chairman, next month the ministry will send 2 staff to Auckland, New Zealand for 3 months training. It is part of the cooperation with the National Committee in the fight against illicit drugs in Tonga, and we will look at the resources needed for a laboratory for testing and verifying of drugs found in Tonga. They are hoping that the laboratory for testing of illicit drugs will be established this year to help facilitate evidence requirements from the courts and also to reduce the cost of shipping overseas for testing. Meanwhile, the number 2 Noble representative of Ha'apai, Lord Fafanua, raised his concern about the rehabilitation center for those who are affected from using drugs, in which this is one of the main issues raised at the National Symposium on Illicit Drugs last year. But the Prime Minister Ho'akamiliku clarified that this project is among the 7 million pa'anga for tackling illicit drugs. Meanwhile, yesterday's deliberations revealed that close to 50% of the psychiatric ward are affected by drugs. Paula for Radio and Television Tonga News.
And the Tonga police have recorded an increase in the number of crimes committed, especially breaching the Traffic Act, housebreaking and theft. Up to now, police have recorded 2,098 people who have been charged with breaching Traffic Act alone. In other crimes, 1,153 people have been charged, including robbery and stealing. And the Chief Superintendent of Police, Felipe Fifita, says that most of the stolen items are handicrafts, such as tapas and mats. Most of the houses are robbed, as there is no one there to look after the house. As we investigate the crimes, it's clear that the close neighbors saw the robbers, but they did not know that they are thieves. I also urge the public to install security cameras at their residences, as it will help to locate and find the robbers. Some of the stolen handicrafts are being sold locally and some are exported abroad. Tonga police also noticed that black markets are still operating and some have caught and charged due to breaking the law of selling alcohol without licenses. As such, he urged those without any license to register so they can operate freely and abide with the Business Act. Another issue raised was selling of food items on Sundays and advertising via social media. Fifita says they continue to follow up the issue as trading on Sundays is illegal and the Sabbath should be kept holy in Tonga according to the Constitution. And that concludes tonight's English news package. But before we part, here's one final look at tonight's top stories. His Serene Highness Prince Kalaniʻi Fotofili will be the guest of honor at the official commissioning of the new vessel of the Toniwas on Thursday next week. Ministry of Infrastructure is working to provide 3 lanes to roads to avoid the traffic congestion, and crimes such as breaching Traffic Act, burglary and theft are on the rise in Tonga. And that's it for tonight. Thank you for your company. I'm Alice Dubo. Have a blessed evening.